No brains, like, no brains at all. Literally no brains.
You know that joint about. Just let me know if you wanna go to that mile. Greens, they got a lot of nice girls.
G'day and welcome to a special Frogs Hollow TV edition brought to you live from the picturesque Mount Monomeath, the proud home of the Hunter Rivmaster Warialda 200. With the loss of Warialda's finest off-roader, community man, idol, Terry Rose earlier in the year, it is a privilege today to be able to reflect and honour and cherish the memories alongside co-host Derek Wheely Rose and special guest, former club president and one of Terry's old navigators, Dave Hartwig. Welcome, man.
Thanks, cheers, Dave. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here. Thanks, Dave, for coming, mate. And
Honour to stand beside you, Red.
Thanks, Dave.
At all times. And Monomeath, looking at the picture, what it's talking about.
Yeah, it is. It's green for once. Brian and Bev would be very happy.
Picture of wealth.
Yeah, dead right.
So as we know, Terry left a mark on not only his family and friends in the Warialda community, but off-road like as a whole, and the whole off-road Australian family, who were immensely saddened by his passing in February of this year. I know personally how attached the both of you were to Big Wheel from the day dots, obviously family. I know you had a lot to do with him, Dave, and he was known to Big Wheel to so many. So before we kick off the show, is there just one special Terry Rose moment that you can just, a bit of an enlightenment before we kick off the show proper? I'll start with you, Dave.
Oh, right. It's nothing to do with racing or anything like that, but I used to work for Terry up at the garage, and he came to me one afternoon and he said, we're having a few, it's just doing it a bit tough. And he said, I won't be able to keep you on. And I said, well, that's cool, I'll go and find something else to do. And we had a yarn about it, and I think from that day on, his respect for my decision to help him out.
Yeah.
And he always said I could come back and work if ever wanted. But I just went on and done my own thing, and it just showed the respect, and we became more friends then, because I was no longer just an employee of him. I was become really good friends. Yeah.
And actually, I agree. Same deal. Nothing to do with racing. When I first come home, decided I want to go into earth moving, and I wanted to buy the backhoe and a truck. And Terry gave me a bit of a helping hand and give me some advice, and went out to Slim Hawkins and bought the truck and bought a backhoe, and sort of that's where it went from. And we're always family, but very close mates to go with it, which never forget.
And I think that's the thing with Terry too, as a lot of people have said last week, to sort of plan this sort of show, and the community always came first for Terry, and community and family, the bond he had with obviously his mother and father, Telford and Shirley, and his brothers, Larry and Spike, and then also his family. But obviously family yourself, the love he had for you guys, and it was all about them, and then he worried about himself later.
Yeah, dead right, and that's the thing, he worried about everybody else before he worried about himself.
And his work ethic was through the roof.
Oh yeah, well, that instilled into my work ethic. When I went to work for him, but it was a joy to do it, and I'm glad that I can show that in my work today.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree with both of you.
And the mechanical whiz we'll talk about later on, but like part of his off-road journey, the love he had for the spanners. So now I'd just like to say on behalf of the crew and the team at Frogs Hollow TV, huge thanks to all who have helped this show possible. Massive thanks to all those supplied a piece of history, a date or something that we asked. Also to the tributes that were sent in from some of our legends. They're awesome to watch later on in the show. And also a special mention once again to Ben and Shane Hutt, the Hutt brothers. Immense, can't thank you enough for the footage you're sending of Terry's career, the Warialda events, and much, much more. Before we delve into Terry's history and journey, we want to share with you a quick couple of clips that really illustrate and sum up what the Warialda community and 200 is all about. Check it out.
Welcome to Warialda, New South Wales. Population 1,300 and home of the biggest little race in the state. The Hunter Rivmaster Warialda 200, a round in off-road racing state off-road series. With one registered race car for every 100 residents, Warialda boasts that it has more race cars per capita than anywhere else in the world. So it's no surprise that when the 200 rolls into town, this small community throws one of the biggest parties of the year. Closing down the main street for the night gives the fans the chance to rub shoulders with the state's best off-road racers.
What I look forward to is everybody having fun, going fast and no one getting hurt.
After an early morning drivers briefing, 58 teams converge on the property Monomeath for the next 2 days of racing.
Definitely 100% the best track in Australia to race on, without a doubt.
I love coming here. For us, it's just going on holidays. It's a bit of a party while we're up here. That's the hard part, not partying too hard, you know. It's up there with the best races in Australia. This little race, you know, it's something different. It's not like a massive long course race where you just get seen for a while and you're out. There's a crowd and your family and everyone can watch it. Like, this is an event that my family love more than any other.
Terry kick-started his off-road career back at the Warialda Rail in a Holden HQ ute in 1987. No one could ever imagine the success that would follow those years. Local crowds, family support and the great off-road mateships that were forged drove Terry and Maureen to the pinnacle of our great sport. Forever a two-time Australian off-road champion. Along with running his own business, Terry was the club president for numerous years on a couple of occasions. He was awarded the Warialda Sports Person of the Year back in 1993 and 2000 and was also placed in the New South Wales Off-Road Hall of Fame back in 2014, whilst wife Maureen was inducted in 2003. I'm sure you'll both agree, man, that there was nothing Terry loved more in the world than to load the family, Maureen, the kids, Leanne, Teresa and Howard and the rest of the crew and head off to a race anywhere across Australia. They all had their turn in the nav seat before Howard took to the wheel himself. Wasn't to be long and the grandkids were taking over. Some extraordinary memories there, really, and got a couple. I'm sure you've been on a few family trips early in the days. And
back in the days, me and Howard, back in Terry owned an F100, blue one, and me and Howard laid in the back and we went from here all over the county 500.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, one memory I'll never forget.
Yeah. What about you, Dave?
Oh, the road trips were more of the journey than the race. The race was just a side project, I think. Yeah, the road trips were anywhere.
Anyway, Milverdale, a whole lot of them.
Oh, whenever you left the town limits, you was on.
Yeah, and it was big trips too, like Mount Gambier. You're 3-4 days on the road, or Alice Springs, you're a week just travelling to get out there.
And those early years, the kids, all kids went navigating, and
they did.
And then obviously as they got older and the grandkids come in, that's what really inspired Terry into that latter part of his career, I think, knowing that the grandkids had that chance.
It was, and when they come of age, no matter what, they got the hobby beside him, and he was always for that, no matter what.
And Jessica, the granddaughter, Hunter, and Greg Taylor, the son-in-law, we know Huda had to go, Paul Hall, the other son-in-law, across his career. But they finished the journey with Terry here in 2017, and that was a special moment for the family and a big special moment too for Howard, who was in the race car, and he lined up beside Father Terry in that last long course. And we didn't know at that time that would be the curtains on Terry's illustrious career, but that was the last straw for Terry in off-road terms, and it was a special moment. Terry did get him that weekend. He got him out in the long course.
Yes, but,
he did. That weekend, Howard actually won the prologue, which is another thing that we'll get to later. But proud moment for Terry, for Howden. I know he'll cherish that moment.
He'll cherish that until forever, mate.
Yeah.
Mountain in the shadow of night. You can say you're Peter, say you're Paul. Don't put me up on your bedroom wall. Call me king of the mountain. I can't take the hands from my face. There are some things we can replace. Mountain in the shadow of night. Mountain in the shadow of night. Where you can say you're Peter, say you're Paul. Don't put me up on your bedroom wall. Call me king of the mountain. Where you can say you're Peter, say you're Paul.
So some more incredible footage, really. We've been saying it the whole way through Frogs Hollow TV. The Hutt brothers have been incredible, but just wind back the clock and see Terry in his element in the Riv Master, the first days in the Gymco, the race car. I mean, it's been one hell of a journey for the Rose racing crew.
It's been a journey that the Rose clan will never ever forget. And like you said, Terry, Maureen, the 3 kids, the grandkids, his mates, his workers, like all that side of his business, the family side, mate. But he was always about fun.
Good fun, yeah. That's always about it. So we all know how respected Terry was amongst his peers, but to receive the accolades and messages that were sent in this week with a special show was quite remarkable. I've got about 10 tributes to show throughout the show, and you're going to get a lot of love, and you might even shed a few tears, I'd say, in the next part of this section. He was truly an inspiration and a legend to so many. Check out part 1 of our Legends tribute.
Yeah, Mark Burrows there to say hello to all the Frog Hollow crew. Just talk about Terry Rose, my old mate Terry Rose. Great bloke. Met him probably back in the 80s, early 80s. We were both running in Class 2 and had a fantastic time with Terry. Got to know him really well over the years and spoke to him a lot on the phone and at the races, and he's just one of them guys that everyone wanted to be around. Really tough competitor as far as the racing goes, but like a real family man, and everyone in off-road racing was part of his family, I think. So we loved going away with him, and probably the biggest thing is the preparation of his car was second to none. Everything he did was just right. He was one of the old school racers that built his own car, built his own engines, built his own trannies, and did a fantastic job of them. And everyone up around Warialda loved Terry, and he was a great man for sure. Probably the biggest thing I used to laugh. You could never have trouble finding Terry at a race. You only had to stand still, be quiet for a minute, and you hear that infectious Terry Rose laugh echo across the pits, so you didn't have to look too hard to find him. Anyway, we'll really miss you, Terry, and the sport in general will miss you a lot. You're a great character, and all the best to everyone. Okay, bye.
The very first Warialda, I think this was 91, 92 I was there. I met Terry and became good friends with him. He then became my mentor as well as a friend. He did a lot of work on my Class 2 car that I bought when I stopped racing Class 7. And I think it was 97, Terry and I had this huge battle. We swapped, in the last session, we swapped places a couple of times. In the end, I came across the line in front of Terry. He chased me for the last 40 or 50 Ks, probably 2 inches off my back of my car. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? This bloke's been an Australian champion, he's going to hate me. We pulled up at the podium at Warialda, and he jumped out of the car and raced over, grabbed me and gave me a big cuddle and said, wasn't that fun? And that's just Terry Rose. He's just the greatest of guys. that year that happened, I actually spent the night in Terry's shed. He's working on his car and I'm working on mine. He's helping me, and then the next day I did that to him, which was all good fun, and he loved every bit of it. Warialda was famous for the first turn off the start with Bashes Bend. He only went for 20 metres and he got this left-hand kink, which was always an issue. As usual, Terry and I, last heat, well, no, it was the first heat actually of the day, side by side, away we went. I got the jump on Terry, I was on the high side, he was on the low side. He caught me in that kink. He drove over the top of me. I had tyre marks over the top of my roof. And then he came down, landed in front of me, turned sideways, and I stuck the front of my car into his seat. I backed off, he drove away, and I stayed there because the front wheel was ripped off. And a little bit later, in the canteen, Maureen said, "What were you trying to do to my husband?" I'm thinking, oh, I didn't see it that way. Quite often one of us have mechanical problems or both. But usually we're always going. If it wasn't me pushing Terry, my teammate Buddy Crow. We used to love going to Warialda, great people, great place, but more importantly, what a legend Terry was. Miss him dearly.
Neville Boys here, and I'm just back in memory of Terry Rose. Terry Rose was a great competitor. He was a very hard man when you were on the track with him. He didn't give anything, and he didn't ask anything either. And he was very, very fast. I first saw Terry racing his Holden Ute, and when he was racing, I thought, by gee, this guy is really trying hard. And sure enough, he progressed up, and he was giving everyone a hard time in that particular class, and even some of the other classes. He then went to his Class 2 car, and I sold him an engine that I'd been racing, a very good engine, and he progressed a bit further with that, and then went to his bigger class, into Class 1. Terry won Class 2 outright, and he was Australian Class 2 champion. He also went to Class 1, and he was Australian Class 1 champion. And Terry Rose was the kind of person that you could go and approach anywhere on the track, anytime, and he would try to help you. To be regarded, I suppose, as one of Australia's greatest, which he was, is a big thing that his family can look back on and be very, very proud of. He was not only a great family man, but he was a great racer. Thank you very much.
G'day, Darren Wells here. I just want to say a few words about the passing of Terry Rose. Over all my lifetime in off-road racing, which has been probably 45 years of it, I've met a lot of real characters of the sport, and Terry Rose and the Rose family were certainly one of the biggest characters of the sport and champions of the sport. It was always a pleasure to go to an off-road race and catch up with the Rose family, Terry and Maureen, and it was certainly a team, the pair of them. Every time we went to a race meeting, Terry and Maureen were always there. Terry will be certainly a big loss to the off-road community. He was a true champion, 99, 2000 off-road Australian champion, and also he won multiple Australian championships in the Class 2 car as well. Every time the Wells clan went to a off-road race, we'd always catch up with the Roses from Warialda, and of course Terry Rose was the biggest name in off-road racing out of Warialda. Everybody in the area knew him. It was certainly a pleasure to have known Terry. He was, in my opinion, he was a complete off-roader. He did everything himself. He worked on the car constantly. The car was meticulously prepared at every race. And when you went to a race meeting and Terry was there, you always knew you had a job in hand trying to beat the Rose team. But No, it's very, very sad to hear the passing of Terry, and I'm sure he'll be dearly missed in Warialda. And you certainly will never replace a great man like him. All the best. Thank you.
Hello, Bob Mowbray here. I'd like to say a few words about Terry Rose and what a great person he was. Terry and I met in the early years of racing at Warialda Rail. He was also new to the sport. Little did I know that we would become lifetime friends. We would look forward to catching up at the race meetings. In the early 90s, Terry, Doug and myself shared a trip to the USA together. I won't go into the things that we got up to on that trip, but when we returned, Customs was more than interested in the volume of parts that we brought back with us. The good times and the memories are too numerous to mention. Terry inspired many a person to join our sport and was always there to lend a helping hand if need be. He was the instigator for the Warialda off-road race at Brian Basham's property. Along with Brian, Doug McMillan and myself, we planned the track at Terry's dining room table. The Warialda race raised money to be donated to the school, hospital and the town. Terry will be fondly missed and remembered for all what he has done for Warialda and the off-road sport, and is greatly missed by all of us.
So there you go, Derek. That's part one of our legend tributes. And I mean, Dave, it's incredible to watch. And even when I got him sent in during the last 2 weeks, it nearly brings the tears to my eyes. And I've only known Terry for, I don't know, fifth of what you guys named. But to see an 8-time Australian champion, you could say that probably him and Shannon Wrench still the best off-roaders of all time in Australia. To see the message and the feelings that he showed, and
the legend, mate. That's how we always refer to Mark. He's the legend. Yeah, I agree.
And just to see that and to see how much it meant to him, and there was no trouble, of course, for any of these guys. We had Bruce Chapman, the memories of him and getting run over in that bottom corner.
They locked wheels a few times over their race careers.
I'll argue with anyone. I think the Terry Rose, Bruce Chapman post 2000 could have been one of the great rivalries in the last 20 years, in my opinion, in Australian off-road.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, because they always lined up side by side right there.
Yeah.
And it was a race to that corner.
That's in the corner.
Yeah.
And it was either get out of the way or you're in trouble.
Neither give in.
And I've been hearing this story about Bob Mowbray and the crew, Dougie and Terry, coming in from the States back in the early 90s. And by the sounds of it, Doug did get away with it. And a few tales being told there from Bob Mowbray.
Yeah, actually, they did. When they brought all that stuff in, Dave, I remember that too. Like, Terry used to tell the yard and I used to laugh me off. And then for Bob to do that in the tribute, which blew me away. And it's hats off, eh?
So stay tuned for the second part of our Legends tributes. Now we're on to another little special segment for the show. It's called the Warialda Mount Monomeath Pit Walk. So Mount Monomeath, Warialda, right here, has a special place in the hearts of all who have raced and visited over the last 30 years, since the inaugural event way back in 1991. Come with us as we relive some of the memorable landmarks of this great piece of land owned proudly by Brian and Bev Basham. Standing here, Dave, Derek, under this tree is a raw reminder of Terry's extraordinary connection with his home event. From the early Class 2 Ridmaster days to the old Jimco in 2017, this is where we'd find Terry and his Rose racing crew, and you would have pitted alongside him here, the Warialda cars, but this is Terry Rose's spot.
This was Terry Rose's spot, and you were privileged if you got to pit beside him, but usually when Howard got back in behind the wheel, had Terry, Howard, and then usually Naps, and then as Dave will say, away they used to go.
Yeah, but this spot here, and like we've been saying, this wasn't about the race and pitting. it was so he could go over there and make sure that the generator still had fuel, or make sure the toilet still had toilet paper and water. Like,
I know
he was forever worried that something would go wrong over the event.
I agree.
And let everyone else down. So
I remember, it might have been 2012, I know Terry was at the front of the grid in the long course, and he missed his start. Well, I think it was only like that 30, 40 seconds, but there's navigator Shane Egan, the plumber, and Terry were up the back, he plunged in the toilet.
They were plunging the toilet because they blocked up and they were running out the bloody doors.
As you said, like, he would have stayed there for another 10 minutes if he had to. Like.
Yep, you'd often find him, he'd get out of the car and just wander straight up and make sure that they were cooking enough snorks on the barbie, or that everything was running sweet for the weekend. And the car came second. Yet again, it just came second.
But as we said, just another connection to the event, and this will forever will always be the spit.
We'll have to fence it off, never to be used again.
The great Terry Rose.
Yes, the great Terry Rose.
Well, here we are, the best seat in the house, and over the years, Dave, there's been some magic calls from up here. The great Rusty Bell, and of course Dave Moore, Brian Basham,
Cole Q.
I'm still waiting for an event to get my monkey off the back, but
you're coming, mate.
I'm hoping I'm next in line. I was talking the Rose Cup last year. I nearly put my head through the roof in excitement. Now we only had 7 cars, so when there's 80, there could be some trouble. But anyway,
we'll have to move the mesh.
Move the mesh.
He was always in the fight, and we talked about it earlier. The relationship and the battles he had with Runner Muck, of course, Bruce and Buddy Crow, and then of course with Johnny Towers and even Dale Chadburn, Neville Boys back in the day.
Mixed close to 2 days, right his ass.
They have a list 10 page long, but this is where it all happened from up here, and we'll. It's a magic spot, and hopefully one day very soon we'll be up here and I'll be able to call you home for who knows, and the next Warialda champion, D Rose. If these stalls could talk, boys, I'll tell you what, we'd be here for a long time, many hours. From all the highs and lows, the rise of not only Terry in the Warialda event, but the sport itself, all moments have been captured from these stands, and we're just talking about it. I mean, the view, heart start to start line. This is the seat. This is the money seat at the Warialda 200.
It is the money seat, and it's I had to sit a few times after breaking down, but it's all right.
With all your fans,
Yeah.
But there's been some memorable moments from right here, hasn't there, Tobe?
Bloody hell.
Yeah, Wiki plummeting from the top of the mountain to the bottom in the Kiwi.
The ladder.
And then the ladder, that was a memorable one.
I don't think it doesn't get talked about much at this track either. So we see the start line just behind our photographer, and the 2 at a time, they head down towards Basham's Bend, and when they go down there, we've seen how close Terry and Bruce, and of course the Buddy Crow rivalry as well, and then we don't know who's in front until they hit the
it's a lottery.
It's a lottery.
It's a lottery, and then you see your favourite come out in front.
And I mean, it doesn't matter. We talk about it. We talk about the Terry rivals, but then the back in the Class 2 days and the Class 5 when you line up against another truck. And I mean, it's an incredible piece of off-road land. And of course, growing up, Derek, I'm sure you would have been on the fence as a young whippersnapper back when you was. Before you got behind the wheel, but I remember bringing a chair out here, I had my pen and paper, and I was doing my old manual timekeeping, making sure that the ladies in the time hut had all the times right.
Yep. If we ever had an issue, we'd come and find Tobe.
Yeah, I was about 5-year-old sitting on the fence with my little Rose racing shirt on. But this is what it's all about at the Warialda 200. Terry, competitors, volunteers and thirsty onlookers would stand here and make their way to this little authentic prestige waterhole here at the beautiful Mount Monomeath over the years, and the perfect view of Hardstuck. But one thing for sure, many were drank and stories were stretched to the max here, Dave, over the years.
From the Saturday morning, from the first car off the line for prologue to Sunday afternoon in the dash for cash.
Where just packed.
Yeah, just line wall to wall.
Standing room only.
Yep, and cheering. And then the post clean up of the event when all the volunteers that donated their time to us would come back here and we'd shout them a beer for thank you.
That was a big thing for Terry too, wasn't it? Just talking about he loved
big thing, mate.
Big thing.
Big thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And that's where Derek's 140 on the road section went into about 215. And
oh yeah, of course it did. Like,
that's what I was all about.
Yeah, when you were pulling about 83 down the road section
and getting tapped.
Yeah, and then by the time you
way.
got back here and had a yarn, you're well over 160, 170.
Yeah. And then obviously the proceedings left this bar and went into the major sponsor Neil Parker
at the Royal Hotel
celebrations when Sky High.
Oh yeah. The sound barrier was broken a few times.
Neil used to leave it open and like, 'cause, 24-hour license, and we'd leave there 3, 4, go home. Yeah, get up here and be back out here at like 8 o'clock to clean up.
Hopefully there's no future stewards watching the show. There's Derek Rose giving us a bit of information. So there's the Warialda bar. From Bill Buchanan crossing here first back in 1991, a little Class 2 machine, to the Chapman name being called home on 9 occasions. But undoubtedly, the one site that is in the heart forever of Terry Rose was for his 6 victories here in 1998, 99, 2001, 2004, 2006, and the last one back in 2007. An illustrious Warialda record, not only the 6 outright victories, but 11 prologue victories. He was always the man that wanted to be under this finish line banner for the first car on Sunday afternoon. And Dave, you had that luxury to be inside him and for one of those occasions.
Yeah, and it was his first in 98.
Yep.
And I just remember coming down Hart Start, and all he wanted to talk about was the amount of people in the crowd. Like, he didn't really worry that he was going to win.
500 metres to go, he just wanted
and all he was worried about was he kept saying to me, have a look how many people are here this afternoon. Like, he didn't care that he was leading the race that he's wanted to win for so long.
Just
it was a great day coming over here.
Great moment.
Yep.
And Derek, I mean, when he took off the start line over there, as we knew Terry, like it wasn't the end all for Terry. If he didn't win, he'd, as you say, he'd like go over there and have a beer. He was never a bad sport or never took it on the heart. But to see him cross for 6 wins and in his home event.
Oh, you're dead right. 6 wins in a home event, but you're dead right. It didn't matter if you come first or last. The same smile. And that same bloody laugh, for God's sake. You could hear it from the top of Hart Start.
It'd still have many a Tuies at the weekend's end.
Yeah, Tuies in the bottom shed doesn't mix with Derek because heavy beer.
And of course, we mentioned in the results the great Terry Rose cross for the last time in September 2017, and will forever be in all of our hearts.
It will be, Toby. It will be. It will be, Dave.
Yep.
A lot of good memories for years to come, and boys, we'll never ever forget what Terry's done for this town, and vice versa. So, and his family. It's all about family and the fun word, mate.
Yeah, it's all about the fun.
Cheers, boys.
It's fast, it's furious, and definitely not for the faint-hearted. Off-road racing is coming to Warialda this weekend for the last leg of the New South Wales Championships. Terry Rose will be contesting the title in his race buggy number 111.
We'll do three rounds of short course racing, and then we go into 2 rounds of long course racing on Saturday and Sunday. And we look like getting 55 cars.
Competitors will be coming from all over the state and Queensland, many ranked nationally. They'll be pushing their machines to the limits around Warialda's off-road track.
John Cowles from Williamtown, Dale Chadburn from Wollongong, Bob Mowbray, Doug McMillan from Moreeath, who's a really hard contender, and but there's anybody.
The distance is 460 kilometres of the toughest off-road racing in Australia. The Kempsey race is the Bathurst of off-roading and is the first round of the Australian Championships. This year, Doug McMillan has teamed up with another consistent performer, Terry Rose of Warialda, who'll also be a competitor at Kempsey.
Doug and myself have been racing for about 4 years together, and we were rivals at one stage, but this year we've teamed up and hope we can do very well with it.
The team have been tuning their engines to perfection, wearing out a few tyres in the process.
Yeah, we end up winning the race today. Yesterday we were back to about 15th, and then this morning we crept ourselves back up to 3rd and end up coming home winners. No, after yesterday I thought we were down and gone. We were out pretty well back to 15th. We didn't think we'd be doing real well from there.
So surprised, but you must be happy to win.
Very happy, yeah. I never ever thought we'd get up this far.
And tell me what it was like to have family member, Greg Sun, with you today. Did you go well?
I love it, mate. I love all the grandkids, and like him more than run the car. As they come of age, they seem to win up when they run, so it's good, eh? I don't drop into it.
No, mate, you'll be around for a long time because you've got a mob coming through, and it's awesome. We're going to see the Rosedale and big crowd as our young Ryan Barrett goes through yet again, mate. So we'll let you celebrate with your team. Great race, and good to see you put the Jeep car up on the podium again.
Thanks, Rusty. Thanks very much for the whole weekend. Good on you.
No worries there.
It is definitely a special place, and for all of us, it'll always be, regardless of whatever happens over the next 50 years, it'll always be a special place for everyone that's raced here, just been here for a race.
Race, visited, helped.
Everyone knows about
volunteers,
Mount Monomeath.
Everyone knows Monomeath.
Wherever you go, Warialda's in their mind. So Terry loved nothing more than to help anyone in need. Wheelie, you have seen it many times, I'm sure you have too, Dave. That cackle, laugh and big heart came hand in hand with his super talent and extremely precise preparation.
As Dave will tell you, precision, if it wasn't right, he wouldn't go racing. And even when I come back from my days, I know my car was never ever looked like Terry's, but the mechanical side of mate, if it wasn't right, you don't go racing. And he always said that. And
just hours and hours and hours down that bottom shed.
And I think that was a good thing. The main thing, as Mark Burrows mentioned in his thing, Terry did it all by himself, like the gearbox, the engine. So that's what marks. He was a real Aussie off-roader. And
well, Dave will tell you, like from day dot, when like the bottom shed days, like the memories in the bottom shed and the hours in the bottom shed will never.
Yeah, like the countless hours. It was every night of the week plus Saturday, Arvo and Sunday. And if it took us 3 nights to fab up one bracket, well, because it had to be perfect, it wouldn't just weld a piece of snot on there and think that's going to fit. Like it was absolutely perfect, and and that shone into the results, didn't it?
It did.
So we'll get a bit into Terry's career. What a fascinating racing journey it was. Talked to your old man yesterday, which was Terry's uncle Alan, which is Telford's brother, and he started out in sprint cars, and then they had a few drag races they called at the Mosquito Creek Road here in town with old Lloydie Chandler and a few of the older blokes here in Warialda, and he eventually found himself in a Holden HQ Ute in 1987, and really the rest is history. As I said earlier, he reached the pinnacle of off-road racing here in Australia in 1999 and 2000, where he secured back-to-back Australian Off-Road Racing Championships. Derek, you were around 99 with Maureen as navigator. That was a very special moment for the family that he, after 12 years of racing, I suppose when he started out, he would have never presumed that I'm sure that was never a goal of Terry's in those first 4 or 5 years, but I'm sure when he got that race car and realised that this thing can hoot along, I'm a chancey.
As Dave knows, and Dave will tell you, like, he had a lot of drama with the race car back then days, and in the early days, engine-wise, and
transmissions.
Engine and transmission.
But finally got the combo right, that Chevy and the auto.
And Jimmy Poole helped big time with the Chevy back them days, and when he got it right, holy God.
And I suppose it was a bit of he ran in 93 at the Kempsey, he ran second to Dougie McMillan, who was in the race car, but Terry was still in the Rivmaster. Then he went to Inglewood in 94 in the new race car and had a few issues, so he's probably thinking, oh, where's the old girl, I suppose, but that's part and parcel with off-road. The record he had in 99 was extraordinary. The first at Ipswich, a second at the Kempsey, which was another podium there. He's second at the Kempsey 500. He ran second at Sea Lake that year, third at Griffith. I was talking to one of his good old mates, Ronnie Smith, who we'll hear from later in the show. He said he told him to back it off. He must have been the team manager back there in 99.
Yeah, that's Ronnie.
Up at Springfield, and he said, just back it off. A top 10 will give you the win. And he come home in 9th outright, I believe. So enough to claim his first title. I'm sure the celebrations were long and hard here in
Warialda. They would have been. They were long and hard. But old Ronnie, dead right. It's like when you build your gearbox, this new boy. You just on your last one before you spend money on it. So just take it easy to get you over the finish line.
And then he stepped out in 2000 with the #1 plate, which we're proudly presenting here on the Frog Solo TV set. Thanks to Maureen and the family for allowing us to use that for the show. Terry stepped out in 2000 with Cole Kuhl in the silly seat, who at that time was working with Terry at the shop there.
He was serving fuel, pumping fuel.
Yeah, you were only pretty young then too, Cole.
Cole was young. Yeah. We were all young back then.
And just sit in and hold on, I'd say Terry would have said to him. So that year they were just as good, really. Second outright in Ipswich. They backed it up with a consecutive podium finish at Kempsey, coming home in third. Another second at Griffith, and that year they won the Mildura Sunraysia 500. They held off Burrows. I think it was a young. Yeah, there was a few. Glennie Owen was there. There was a stacked field down there. And he also won the Warialda race in 2000. So
Yes.
I suppose you would have been thinking then, this is rosy for Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have seen some of them days, Dave.
I was away working in that time. Yeah. I'd moved away from town just with work commitments.
Yeah.
And then came back in the mid 2000s to just to lend a hand.
Yeah.
To give him a hand down the shop at the race centre. And then he asked me to hop in and sit in beside him. And, yeah.
And then there was some big memories.
Yeah.
Great memories.
Yep.
Great memories.
Yeah.
I think the two consecutive Australian championships are great, but I think Terry didn't actually have the chance to talk to Trevor. I think the thing that really stood out in his career in those last few years was his 6 Warialda titles. I know everyone talks about his love for Mount Monomeath, but to bring home and secure that great trophy on 6 occasions in 98, 99, 01, 04, 06 and 07.
Yep, and don't forget, 11 prologues.
Yeah, 11 prologue wins. We mentioned that, of course, in the pit walk, but that was incredible. 11 prologue victories. Yes. So you can only say the king of the short course, Terry Rose, of course, and yeah, definitely was a very proud moment for the family too, just to see the way he roll up to the die and the whole fence. I remember as a kid, there's yellow shirts everywhere, and I remember at the school the week before, me and Camo would have bets to see what he'd come, and I just went number 1 because if he wasn't number 1, he was usually broken down.
Yeah, well,
not much in between.
That's exactly right.
1992 and 93, which was obviously in the Rivmaster days, he was the Class 2 champion. I know Ronnie had a bit to do with that. He also made a statement, Ronnie Smith, earlier in the week to me on the phone, that in a 10-race span in the early 90s, he didn't finish outside the top 8 in 10 races, which that's a record that's incredible in the old Rivmaster. It just shows, and Derek Kennedy says in the next tribute show that the early days, the Class 5 days, really proved how good he could steer, and you know yourself in the Class 5, if you can steer a Class 5 around, all the rest comes pretty easy.
He used to tell me the tales of the Class 5 in the Kiwi with the turbine strapped to the side of it, and he was prologuing outrights in that thing, and there was a lot of questions being asked from him. Like, how can he get that old banger to go so fast?
I think he had a top 10 or something at Inglewood one year in the old HQ, and everyone's just like, this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, that's right.
But it did. It did. He also claimed 3rd outright in the ORC in 1996 and 4th outright in 1995. He's had 2 third-place finishes at the famous Think Desert race in 1995 on debut with Ronnie Smith in the race go. And in 2006, who alongside him that weekend was our guest host for tonight, Dave Hartwig. A memorable weekend for you and Big Wheel.
Oh, yeah, of course it is. Like, it's the biggest show. And to come around that last corner, because Fink's a nightmare. You don't know where you are, in all honesty. You've got to pass on the way home to claim a position, but people break down, they disappear, you don't know. And
no idea.
You came around the corner and there was only 2 cars in the parking bay. We're on the cans tonight, Big Wheels. Oh, yeah.
And then after that, so that was 2006. Then you had a couple more runs. I think you finished.
Yeah, we just slowly went down the ladder. We had a 3rd, then a 4th, then a 5th.
1509. That was the last.
Yeah, but then he said that'll probably do us, eh?
But not a bad way to finish. I mean, at that time in his career, I suppose that's when the rise of Shannon Wrench and the Bentley was in form. And that was the time when I think when young Trav and Bo were hitting the scene.
Well, they'd come on the scene, and the guys out there like Dave and Bangers in the Kittle team, they were formidable.
Yeah.
Shannon was just taking over where Mark left off. Mark was still fast. He was still hard to beat.
Yeah, Dave Fellows was just always
Dave was fast.
Yeah.
Bangers. So the field started getting faster and faster, but he was still.
But they were younger too. But they were younger. They were way younger than Terry, and Terry was of age.
When Terry first started, he wasn't that young man.
He wasn't a young man like we were.
No
way in the world at all.
No. So the first run in the Jimco that he brought over for the first time in 2004 was up at Jim. I think you were telling me you remember when he rolled off the trail there.
Oh, they all. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. I had Brian Basham and Bev's whole car up there, and we went up there, and it was in the back of the truck, and everyone was just standing around waiting for this car to come out, and they finally put it down the ramp, and you should have seen the crowd. They just went bang, and it was just like, yeah, unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable.
And in 2005, an interesting one for me, a bit of research, is his first and only appearance at the Nabiac Airport Challenge, and a few little rumours come through that he was asked politely not to come back. He was that dominant in his win over there.
He was, he was dominant, all right. And the people that went over, they will tell you, he was dominant.
Yeah. But that Jimco, he had some, well, you know yourself, Dave, and I know, I think Shane Egan there in the Egan race, they joined up there after Dave stepped aside, and they had a few great results also, a couple of good results at Gundy, Griffith, Warialda, like that Jim, it's a great car, that one that
truly missed that one.
Yeah.
The little 2000 series, they're a beautiful car.
Nice car.
Yeah, nice and light, and just put big horsepower in it.
Yeah.
And it had handling too, Dave. It didn't matter if you threw 300 or you threw 600, it didn't take it.
Dave, you had a journey over to Hyden. I think it was Terry's only appearance in WA, I believe.
Yep.
In 2007.
Yeah, she was a big road show, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a big journey. Yep, in the SS Commodore, running blocker.
I think he finished there inside the top 10.
Yeah, we did. We had a drama here. We blew a shock to pieces. And our great mates, sort of teammates, the Juzzy and Mel there, and Ivan. They'd blown another engine.
Yeah.
And
Strip parts off.
They said we could take the shockies, but the rules said that we weren't allowed to borrow the part. We had to do it in race time. So we had to start the race, pull up beside their broken down car, and do it all.
Do it in that time.
Yeah. Yep. And still brought it home in the 10. So
I'll be buggers.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
It was a good stuff. Really good. Yep. Just a note, we've talked about the connection he had with his grandchildren at the race. I never forget the smile that young Camo Taylor, who was my brother's age, a year younger than me, at Milbrodo in 2010. The Camo would only have been 15 then, just that face that he was sitting there alongside Pop, and he was really quick that weekend. He only got pipped by Bruce, and actually it might have been Bryce that weekend. I think he was just starting out, and Brad Prout, I think, won it.
Yep. And
there was a few, Terry run third, but that stood out in my memory just seeing that. Another moment for me was when Brian Basham hopped in with Terry here back in, I think that might have been 2013, 2012, 2013, he hopped in. That was the last time Brian.
Well, that was a big family affair, because Howard got Bill to jump in beside him.
He did, that's exactly
had
right.
father and son in both cars.
And we know how, obviously, talking about Brian and Bev, we know how the connection that they had with Terry and Maureen over the years. And in my opinion, obviously my grandfather Les was the early treasurer in those early days, Dave Moore was the president, Bev was the secretary, and obviously Terry and Telf, the whole family was involved. And without Brian and Bev saying yes, well, who knows, Terry may never have had the career he did if it wasn't for the Warialda club.
And you're right, Toby, like at the end of the day, and as Dave will tell you, you're dead right, this magical trackie, if it wasn't for Bev and Brian allowing to do what we do out here, you're dead right. This wouldn't be happening.
Who knows, never might have had your success.
I wouldn't have had my success, mate. I know I've had a very good career, and I haven't been as lucky as Terry, but I've had a very good career, and like I said, a lot of good times here, a lot of bad times here too. Like Dave will tell you, yourself, me, we could talk about it for hours, but we haven't got hours, but them little things in life that you remember, what Terry and Maureen and the family and the Warialda community did, you guys say you could talk for hours, but and we will after this show, after we're on the scenes, we'll still talk.
So some great
memories.
Now we'll check out part 2 of our Legends tributes to the late Terry Rose. Take a look.
G'day folks. I've been asked to say a few words on my thoughts on Terry Rose. Now, when I think of Terry Rose, I think of family, always. I first met Terry back in 1988 at the Kogan pub, and there was Terry, Maureen, Leanne, Teresa, and Howard. Howard was just a squirt then. And we hit it off straight away. And from that day on, we had a really great friendship, and we really had some really good times and not so good times, I must say. But it's always about family. We travelled around Australia together and always had a great time, always had a beer at the end of the day. And that Terry's infectious laugh, you know, you could never, how could you not get caught up in the moment? Terry was so dedicated to his sport. I really was involved with Terry back in the old Ute days, back in the 80s and early 90s. And I think that was testament to Terry's skill as a driver. You know, sure, the buggies, he did very well in the buggies, but Jesus, I went for a couple of rides and actually did a Kempsey with Terry in the old Holden Ute, and I tell you what, it was pretty damn good, and I was felt pretty honoured to be able to navigate for Terry then. But oh geez, he was a great driver and a great bloke, a great ambassador to the sport, and geez, I still miss him. You know, I wish I could catch up because I used to love having a chat about the old off-road days. You know what I mean? And telling a few stories, and I tell you what, a lot of our stories had a lot of the old GST in it, you know, the good story tax. But, and when what's the saying? The older you get, the faster we were. But hey, Terry to me was a great driver, a great family man, and a great ambassador for the sport, and a great ambassador for the Warialda, and all the things he did there. And, geez, he's going to be sadly missed. And anyway, I hope the legacy carries on, and I wish him everything we want to say about him. What else can you say? He was just Terry Rose. Cheers.
Hi, it's Ron Schmidt here. Just to talk about Terry Rose. Terry Rose was a great family man, a businessman, a good member of the Warialda community. I first met Terry in 1983 when he turned up at Kempsey with a 8-set Holden with a turbocharged 6-cylinder. Terry reached the pinnacle in 1999 by winning the Australian Offroad Championship outright. Him and Maureen always prepared those cars immaculately. Off-road racing will be much the poorer for the loss of Terry Rose, and myself, I've lost a very good friend and mate. Thank you.
Huh? So you want to know about Terry Rose? Rosie? A legend. Funniest man that Jesus put life into. He was the best man. He's the best dad. He's the best husband, but the best mate. Yeah. We used to go to these, anywhere, hundreds and hundreds of places, but you'd end up in a bar with him telling a story, funniest storyteller, and you'd have the whole bar pissing themselves. They didn't even know him, and they were pissing themselves. Racing though, he was the Australian champion of all champions. I don't know, he just beat us any time we went somewhere. My mum used to say, "Is that Terry going?" And I go, "Yeah." She said, "Wasting your time." Yeah. He told me once, "Robbo, you know, put your foot on the brake, don't. Take it off, put it on the accelerator, then put it back on the brake." He still beat us, but yeah. So yeah, look, the best man. I can't even describe to you the camaraderie or whatever you call it. He was with my boys, with everybody he met. He was just the loveliest guy. He put off-road racing where it is today with how he was with his club, his loyalty to all his club members, everybody. Yeah, Terry Rose. Now, I can't say anymore anyway, because you cut me up here.
G'day everybody, Naps here. I'm proud and honoured to be included in this for Rosie. The most genuine mate and racer I've ever had the pleasure to know or race against. I started racing Warialda in the little class 2 in the late 90s, met Moores and Terry. and we quickly became very good friends and loved competing over there. It never ceased to amaze me how he always made time to help everybody and make sure they were ready to race the next day. He was one of a kind type of bloke. I will miss our regular phone calls and always will to this day. I won't get over not being able to call him. Thanks for allowing me to carry your number, mate, and the legacy of number 11. We'll try to do it justice. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
I'm sure you'll agree, Dave, Derek, they were special words and stories, as we mentioned before, from many legends of our great sport. And those people will always be, Terry will always be in their heart and like us. And they'll treasure that moment. I asked them a couple of weeks ago to say, no, of course, like, how do we do it? How do we get involved? And it's something that, obviously, this will be hopefully streamed and will always be remembered. Like we were talking about earlier, 10 years down the track, like Terry will never be forgotten. And this tribute show will always be there to watch for those. And once again, thanks to those that sent in the special tributes. It's been a privilege to showcase the countless memories and great contributions that Terry has left behind with this great sport and our great town that we all truly admire. Before we depart today, Derek, Dave, any last words on the great Terry Rose?
Oh, I think that the town of Warialda sums it up. Like, that was his love through and through. Yeah. Like, he'd spend weeks and weeks prepping this event. Yeah. And put his car second, just to make sure that the event was right to go. And he used to instill that in me when I was the president here, to make sure that everyone that comes here just remembers how good a town it is and how great the event was and how well it was run, how professional we were. And that was what I'm going to remember forever, and I'm sure everyone else will,
And I actually agree with you, Dave. I won't add much more to that, but you're dead right. You put his car second. I remember being a Friday before the race, getting dyno Friday afternoon, and he could be out here like for a week and come back and do it. And Dave will tell you that even when Dave was president, and not being really like everyone else was president, Terry always had a big influence, and he always give you the right leadership in what to do. And I think that's what makes us as people and our club and our town. If it wasn't for Terry, we all wouldn't be here. As far as our sporting goes.
No, definitely one of the greats. So now we'll depart on an entertaining note. For those who have seen the Mario Fennick Footy Show visit to town way back in 2001, we're all positive you'll watch it again. And for those that haven't, hang on to your teeth because it is priceless. Thanks for joining us on this special afternoon. Terry Rose created a way of life that will never be forgotten. His legacy will always live on. Here's the big wheels.
Big wheels.
Well, I went to Warialda. I took my life into my own hands, but to deliver a good segment, I did what I had to do. I'm going to get all this, got to get all this SICD off it. Can we throw to the police, please? The Falcon has landed. I'm on my way to a little country town called Warialda. And after my last visit to the Caxton Hotel, where I was lucky to get out alive, the Falcon is now looking for a quiet pub. This looks perfect. It's the Royal Hotel. Let's go in and meet the friendly locals.
Mario, you think the Caxton was dangerous? Look what we've got in store for you. Jump in.
Jerry, I've had a hard couple of weeks. I've been to the Caxton Hotel. I've had beers thrown over my head, bottles thrown at me. I've had a hard couple of weeks, champion. What are you going to do to me?
Well, mate, you're going to navigate for me. My navigate had a few beers at the Royal Hotel last night.
Navigate? What does that mean?
Well, you got to tell me where I'm going right or wrong.
Okay, how fast does this thing go?
Oh, about 180, 185.
180? Are we safe?
Right?
Has anyone been hurt in this thing?
Oh, probably.
Have you ever rolled it?
Yeah.
I've heard of Mark Scaife, champion, but I've never heard of Terry Rose. Who are you, Neville?
No, you'll know me by the end of the day.
I'm ready, mate. I'm nervous.
You'll probably be wanting a bit of this, eh?
What's that? What, toilet paper?
There.
Take your time, champion. Oh. Oh.
Here we go. We're going to go down in the creek. To the jumps, we go. We're going to take...
Oh! Oh, my God!
Here we are.
Oh! Oh! Get you idiot! There you go, mate. Left hand rear. Don't take it pretty steady down to rear. Whoa, look at this. Please! You are an idiot! You're an idiot! Where are you going, Mario? Where are the guys? Watch where you're going! Get back to your house, you idiot! Where are you going? Whoa! Hang on! Terry! You're right, hang on, just hang on. I'm a bit busy up through here. I'm gonna have a heart attack! You idiot! Where the heck are you? Stop this! No, we can't stop. We're racing these fellas. No more! Please! Terry! Please! This is not funny! How are the temperatures going? You're not doing much of a job. This is not funny, you idiot! I can't breathe! I'm totally rooted! When I get you out of this car, I'm gonna punch the shit out of you! We just leave that one, it's dirty. Oh, help me! Help me! Ah, you are a lunatic! You lunatic! No more! Hang on, Arthur. I can't stand it! Mario, I'll be hanging on down here. Oh! You! Oh, Terry, you idiot! No more! Oh, mate, no more! You total lunatic! Get me out of the... Get me out of the car! Mate, I want to get out of the car! Get me out of the car! I need an ambulance! Oh, God, thank God I'm alive. I'm totally and utterly rooted. Mate, do me a favour, get me back to the Royal Hotel. I'm desperate for a milk. I need a relax. I need a stretcher. I need an ambulance. And you are a total idiot! We were doing 160 kilometres and I was saying to him, Terry, let's go faster! I just went to off-road buggying, you know, in the buggies. Oh, yeah. I was a navigator. Yeah, someone said you got out pretty white. Mate, I'm going to be sick. No, I actually handle it pretty well. You think it's funny, don't you? Oh, that's hot! I burnt my hand! Am I screaming annoying you? I actually didn't hear you. Oh, mate. I was saying some nice things about you too. And I started off slow, but I thought that I warmed up very well. In fact, Terry Rose said to me, I was very impressive. Mate, honest to God, that is a joke. I'll have to go through that again. Mate, I've never heard so much commotion come out of it. I thought the gearbox was coming out of that car at Terry's, but it was you screaming, you lunatic. You're an absolute girl when it comes to pace, speed, and having a bit of a ticker. Well, there you go. The Royal Hotel had an absolute ball. The buggy racing, well, I started off slow, but I thought in the end, I nailed it. I'm off home. Hey, Mario, would you like a lift to the airport? Go away. Leave me alone.